Welcome to Crowning Connections with Rob Clemons. We're still at the home show here, and I've got the pleasure of meeting with Hewitt from AAA Blind Shutter Factory. Hewitt, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I
Good.
appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. How's the show going for you so far?
This show is great. Years ago, we've come to it, several years, and this crowd is the best we've seen in several years.
And it's like people are coming back. You know, we're officially all the way back from COVID now.
I think so.
I'm going to tell you, I'm like you. I've been coming to these things for years, and we've been through the periods where it was not quite this busy, but it was about like this, and then COVID hit, did its thing, but I think people were ready to shop again.
Well, I was right across from your booth last September, I think.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of twiddling thumbs.
A lot of twiddling thumbs.
Because there just weren't people here.
Absolutely.
Here.
And of course, I bring 25 people to man my booth at every show. So sometimes people say, "Why
y'all are having fun. Y'all are having fun."
Hey, we got to have some fun with this always. Well, look, I appreciate you being here. Tell me a little bit about what got you into this business.
Well, I purchased the company in 2011.
Okay.
The reason I did that was I was in a kind of a related business on the south end that was related to home building. And in 2006, we had our best year ever. In 2010, we were out of business.
Man.
Because the banks just came in and called our line of credit and just said, "You're done." And I couldn't finance it, so we just closed the doors. And that company had been open 24 years at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people lost their job, and that was the Great Recession.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I noticed about this company was that sales were down like 20%, while everybody else was falling like flies. There was some resiliency there that caught my attention, and I said, well, that's the kind of business I want to be in that is resilient.
Yeah.
And it was just good timing. It was just really good timing, and I enjoy it. I really do.
So you looked at AAA Blind Shutter, and this for you, this was like more of a, you went out, you saw what the market needed, you saw an opportunity, you bought the company from there.
Right.
All right. Got you. What did the company look like then versus today? I'm sure you kind of put your own mark on it and things. I mean, did you change anything or keep building the culture? What did that look like?
I'm not going to diss who owned it before that, but
Right.
I'd like to see, I've made some good changes. Like
right.
the office personnel were part-time. They never worked on the same day. So how do you get something done when your office personnel was never there at the same time?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So it was a smaller company. It's about a third the size it is now. So I've tripled the size over my tenure. And that it's been in business since it's been open since 1996.
Okay.
So I purchased it in 2011.
Now tell me, let's go back to, we have a lot of business owners, people who listen to the show. How do you go about tripling a business? I mean, what did you do that made that difference? I mean, was it just the natural growth of the business, or did you do something new with the marketing?
Well, there are a couple of ways to go about business. You can go like I'm sure your owners have done and gone big with a lot of employees. On my end, when I had a failure, when I got this opportunity, I decided I was not going to fail again. So I worked as hard as I could to make sure that didn't happen. So I was not going to over leverage myself again, because I did it once and I learned from that. Because if it's not happened to you, it's very difficult to, when you've got a business slowdown, you go, this is just a temporary slowdown. But if it's gone one day and it never comes back, that it's like being a depression baby. Mm-hmm. You just never forget that.
Okay.
And so that I worked too hard, actually.
Yeah. No, well, I was going to say, one of the things is that when you talk about business, 2007, 2008, the market really hit. A lot of people at this home show today probably remember that. It wasn't that long ago, realistically. And I think it adjusted the way a lot of people did business, right? Because beforehand, you're out here, you're spending money like crazy, investing in everything. And then it was the companies that were so deep in that really a lot of great businesses did go under at that point.
Yeah,
it was just nothing like we see.
All the builders did.
Absolutely.
They had, whether they were building 20 homes or one home.
Well, absolutely.
The financing just disappeared.
Well, you remember at Grand Dunes.
I was in there all the time.
You were in Grand Dunes. So Grand Dunes had this thing that happened, and anybody who's been in this business probably remembers. These people are basically pre-purchasing $1 million homes, and they're putting down deposits of, let's say $20,000, $50,000. And at the time of that depression, I remember all of a sudden these $1 million homes were turned into $500,000 homes.
Exactly.
And these people would rather walk away from the deposit than to be stuck with it. And a lot of good builders went under with that. So what did that teach you about business, as far as seeing that happen?
It was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
It was eye-opening that banks can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Yeah.
It's like a necessary evil. And it exposed me to a lot of aspects of business that I was not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an eye-opening experience for me, and I don't know. It changed a lot of things. It'd be a whole list of the way I ran a business, and I've been in business for myself since I was 22 in various industries, and never experienced anything like that.
Well, I was going to say, being a business owner for life, how do you stay in tune with your employees? And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people, maybe you were an employee for a long time. You decided to buy your own business. You kind of know what it feels like to be the worker bee.
Right.
You as an owner, you've been a proprietor so long. And I always feel like there's a disconnect between employees and the owners from this one reason. The owner knows the true pressure that every single customer that you have is ultimately going to be your boss, right? As an owner, every time you go on vacation, there's a stress to it.
Vacation?
What is a vacation?
What is that? I have no idea. No idea. Not familiar with it.
Well, when you go on your 3-hour vacation.
Lunch break. Is it lunch break?
Lunch break. It's somewhere around there. And even then, you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I hope Mr. Jones is okay, Mrs. Johnson's okay. That's something the typical employee can't understand perfectly. But then again, maybe the owners have a hard time understanding for the employees that it's hard for them to totally embrace the business like you do because it's harder to internalize. How do you connect that disconnect? Is it through team building, leadership? I mean, how do you get to that point?
I'll back up real quick and say that you don't have to be crazy to do this, but it helps.
Yeah, right.
To be in business for yourself.
For sure.
We are a really close family knit organization with our employees. We've got an open door policy all the time. When someone's hired and trained in a position, I tell them, run it like you own it. I don't micromanage. That doesn't work.
Right.
Let people go. Make them feel important, that you want them, and we do.
Yeah.
I mean, that comes from the heart. So it depends on, I think, your personal mindset and how you treat people and how you treat your employees. And if they feel important, and they are, it's a great mindset, and it's a great corporate culture.
One of the most underrated part of running a good business, in my opinion, as a general manager of a company that, we did around $25 million last year here in Myrtle Beach alone. And the thing is that employee retention is as important as anything we have to do as business leaders.
Exactly.
And it's like, how do you get to that point? So, but a lot of it comes down to, especially in 2022, communication, making people feel a part of things. So I can appreciate that as an owner, you had to do that. What tips would you have for people that are thinking about being business owners? What would you, other than being crazy? Right?
That's number one.
That's number one on the list.
Number one.
Now, number two, is it financial discipline or something?
Wow. What? Now, ask me that question again.
Right. No, it's like, what would you tell somebody who's thinking about, I want to be a business owner? What would you tell them that you think they would want to know?
Well, you've got to come up with a checklist of what you want to do. Is there a market for it? How are you going to finance it? Take that number and multiply it by 3, just to be prepared, because you think you've covered all the bases and you really haven't. There are certain ways to set up a business, like I don't agree with partnerships. I think you should incorporate for liability reasons and tax reasons. So there's a litany of things that you need. It's not just, I love this, I want to do it as a business. It's not that easy. I would not recommend that. Yeah,
I got you. Well, no, I mean, that's good to know. From my perspective, I think that something that a lot of people need to know is just the idea that as a business owner, you have to know that you have to chart a course. You have to have a plan. A lot of these people get in just because they saw an opportunity with the business.
Exactly.
And they thought, well, I could go make some money. But you really got to care about your customers, and you got to see there's a reason I'm doing this, and then you have to plot your course accordingly. Did you get a business loan when you first started, or was there anything like that? Or did you just, had you built up enough funds to be able to do that?
Well, on my first company, that was self-financed. On my second one, I went through a bank, And you talk about a comeuppance. When we went out of business, I still owed money on that.
Yeah.
So imagine making payments on a company that doesn't exist.
Holy cow.
And there's no revenue.
That's a little stressful, right?
Yeah, you don't sleep well at night.
Yeah.
So in order to avoid that kind of situation, you need to be very careful on how leveraged you become, how far extended out you are.
Yeah.
On this particular company, I was just very fortunate to land it from within, and that counted. I mean, I'm just lucky.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, you've done a great job with the business, talking about growing by triple.
Now, I haven't done what you guys have done, but I've decided to stay a little smaller.
Well, you know, a lot of people ask, and honestly, that comes down to that business decision you talked about. You know, the owner of Monarch Roofing, you know, I know he's always been an enterprising type of a person. He decided he wanted to grow the business really fast. And, you know, I think each business has its own opportunities, and you have to look at, do I want to make more profit, or do I want to, grow faster, or whatever may be the course. So I think that's kind of what we were talking about. Well, being an owner, and I know you were telling me a couple of things earlier, do you have any good stories for me about, you know, customer story or anything that you want to share with us? Just something fun?
That's every day. That's almost every day. Right. You never know who's going to walk through the front door. Never judge a book by its cover.
Sure.
I've dealt with customers that have come through the front door with no makeup on, who are members of the Springs family of South Carolina. Are you familiar with them? Textile? The Springs?
No, I haven't.
From like Fort Mill.
Oh, okay.
I mean, building $1 million houses, but you don't know who you're dealing with.
That's true.
Just don't judge a book by its cover. There are all kinds of stories like that are fascinating. People who are working for government contracts and how they do that, and different walks of life that you see through retail is fascinating, really.
Absolutely.
It's really interesting.
Well, you know,
and then there are those that drive you crazy.
Well, you know, what you have to have is you have to know when you're talking to people who's going to be a little higher maintenance than others, and those are one of those little things you have to do. But we love all our customers the same. That's how
we have to have them, don't we?
You do need to make a buck or two in this to make it
We're
work.
Not in it for our health.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, if you were going to look at your next 5 years, what do you see in your business? Are you looking at opening new locations or just continuous improvement?
Well, coming out of the pandemic right now, I don't know what experience you're having, but it's become extremely hard to hire people.
Oh, yeah.
That in and of itself keeps us like we're treading water now. We can't really expand because we install our own product, and I can only install it so fast.
Yeah.
Unless I find more installers and more trucks and that kind of thing. And right now it's hard to do. So I don't know if that's going to change this year, next year. We do plan on growing because you have to. If you're not, you're going backwards.
Absolutely.
So that's the game plan, is to grow it. But at what pace, I'm not sure yet, because we've got to be able to staff to do it.
What kind of material supply problems do you run into, if any? You know, I know in the shingle business, I used to say, hey, look, I've got one of these, 5 lines of shingles with these 6 colors. Now I'm like, hey, I got 3 colors. Which one do you want? Right. Have you had any of that kind of stuff?
I tell everybody I'll build any color shutter you want as long as it's white.
Okay, right.
I just cut all the colors down just to keep it simple.
Yeah.
We import all of our shutter components from China by the container load.
Okay.
So logistics have been troublesome. Yeah. What initially took 10 to 12 weeks to get now takes 28.
Wow.
The freight charge alone went from $7,000 to $28,000, just freight, not what's in it.
Sure.
And for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason. Yeah. So I know the talking heads on the radio and TV said inflation might be coming back. It's been here.
Oh,
it's been here.
Yeah, it's coming.
We saw it coming from a mile away.
It was already coming back. Now it's coming back with a vengeance, or whatever. Right?
It's a vengeance.
So, do you have any hobbies? I know you're a business owner, so your chief hobby is probably your shutters.
That's what it is.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
I tried golf. I don't think. It just the bug didn't bite. So,
okay.
I like the boat.
You're a boater? Okay. Yeah. Motorboat, sailboat? What do you do?
Motorboat, often called a stink pot.
A stink pot, okay.
Sailors call them stink pots.
What? Now, why would it be called a stink pot?
Because it smells, burns gas.
Oh, it just, okay, all right, got you. So I've got people who have introduced me into the selling world, and I got to tell you, that's hard work.
I have never worked so hard to go so slow in my life.
Oh my gosh! And in my case, I've never been yelled at so hard on a hobby I was doing. Like I'm sitting here, you got to get the sheet up faster.
And going slow.
Yeah, Hey, if you're doing 8 miles an hour on a boat, on a sailboat, it feels like you're flying, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It's exhilarating, and I'm not knocking sailors.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
just,
of course.
you're either on one side or another.
But you give you your stink pot and you're happy. That's all.
Yes, that's all I need.
Absolutely. So, where are you from originally?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, got you. Charlotte. Anywhere else?
Reedsville, just north of Greensboro.
Okay, Greensboro.
Just south of Danville, north of Greensboro.
Got you. And are you a long timer here? Are you going to be in Myrtle Beach 10 years from now, 15 years from now?
Yes.
Well, this is what the customers need to know.
Yes.
I tell you what, it's been good getting to know you today. Is there anything you want to say about your company or anything else that you want the customers to know about you or your company?
Well, I'm not going to toot my own horn. I appreciate what you guys are doing and incorporating other companies here into your podcast, and I really appreciate that and appreciate being given this opportunity. I talk about our company to our customers all the time, and I enjoy that. And I'm not going to do it now.
Oh, well, hey, look, I tell you what, my whole goal with this was to give the people a chance to get to know the people behind the business.
Well, I
And
appreciate that.
At the end of the day, we care about what we do. I can see that you are a man of your word for sure on that. Thank you for being on with us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future.
I appreciate it. Good to talk to you too.
All right. Hewitt with AAA Blind Shutter Factory. Thanks for being on, and we'll see you guys next time on Crown and Connections.